Hi, I'm Josh Ellsworth, General Manager with Stahl's CAD-CUT Direct. Thanks for joining our presentation today, a video guide to decorating team uniforms for high school athletics, presented in conjunction with Great Garment Graphics webinars. Today we have a lot of exciting things to cover with you. It's going to be a very in-depth session, so you may want to grab a notebook along with a pen and make some notes along the way. Whether you're just starting your own sporting goods business or whether you've been in business for a number of years doing team jerseys for high schools, I think this presentation will help, because we're going to show you the most cost-effective way to do it, the easiest, cleanest way to do it, and then also enter in some special effects, stretch materials, pretty much show you the whole gamut for decorating for high school sports. In this presentation, we'll cover a lot of different heat-applied films that you can use while trying to simplify the choices for you so you know exactly which ones to pick for the different types of fabrics. And we'll utilize a vinyl cutter to cut some designs. We'll show you how that works momentarily. And all of the garments that we'll be printing today will be completed with heat printing and a heat press. And we'll go over some considerations for heat presses as well. Now, there is a governing body for high school athletics and what is legal for a team uniform as far as jersey design, also as far as numbering sizes, placement, colors allowed, all of those things there's actually rules for. So the NFHS determines those rules, and we'll be going through those today as we get through the various sports, because it's different for just about every single sport. But we'll give you some highlights as far as what you need to look for the number and name requirements and the designs on the front of the jerseys. So without further ado, I'd really like to get into cutting a design and showing you exactly how this technology works, which is CAD-CUT. CAD-CUT is a product that Stahl's invented 20 plus years ago, and now we manufacture the materials and sell it direct. But basically you can source materials on a roll in a variety of different colors. This is one of our more popular materials, which is called Thermo Film. And CAD-CUT is pretty easy to understand. There's a few different layers. I'm going to grab my weeding tool and peel back a corner here so we can show you this. There's two basic layers that are separable. You have a pressure sensitive or a plastic carrier that's designed to hold all of your lettering and all of your design together. And then you have in this case, a polyurethane film, which is your color that you're ultimately going to end up with in your design on the jersey. Now, along with the polyurethane film, there's an adhesive, typically laminated or extruded onto the material. And there's different types of adhesives. There's some adhesives that are good for cotton and polyester, some that are good for nylon applications, and we'll step through those because you're going to see all different types of jersey constructions as you're out there. But ultimately, this material comes ready for you to load into a vinyl cutter, a sign cutter, and you can load the material adhesive side up. I'm basically just going to drop it onto a roll holder and feed it through. Now, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on the cutter and how to do things with the cutter today. I just want you to understand the concept and the technology if you don't already have a vinyl cutter. It just has grit rollers that lock down on the sides of the material. I'm going to tell the machine that there is a roll loaded in, and then I'm going to scroll back to the blade, cuts with a knife blade, to begin its cutting from designs that I program into the software. Now, one important thing that I do need to do is set my downforce for cutting this material to make sure I get accurate cuts. And for that, I'm just going to do a test cut. And simply weed away the excess to make sure I'm getting a nice clean cut. And it's just cutting through the top layer of film and not through the backing, because the backing is going to hold everything together. So I'm going to program where I want it to start, and I'll go ahead and send a job. Now, with athletics and high schools, you'll end up dealing with a lot of numbers, a lot of names, a lot of different designs. For this particular design, I just created a list of names to decorate one jersey, and I'll go ahead and send that to the cutter. Although I'm going to decorate a complete jersey, in this case I'm not going to cut the numbers. At Stahl's, we manufacture pre-cut numbers out of the same film that we've made the roll here. This is our Thermo Film. It's our most popular athletic material. But we manufacture these pre-cut numbers that don't come with a liner at all that you can simply lay out on the jersey for application. This is the most cost-effective way to do team uniforms, for you to cut your own name and match that with the pre-cut number from Stahls and heat press it on. The software that I am using is cadworkslive.com and the Easy Teams module, and I'll go over that briefly for you soon to show you how easy it is to create stuff in there. But the cool thing about that is it has all of the Stahls fonts preloaded, so I can actually cut the name in a font to match the number, which is important. Going to take a razor here and slice this off. And then I'll take it over to the table and give you a quick highlight of the weeding process. Going to remove, start to peel back, and you can see as I remove this, basically I have my names left there. I've cut everything in a mirror image because ultimately it's going to flip over to press onto the garment. With this material it's slightly thick, so I don't actually need a weeding tool to pull out some of these centerpieces, but you have to remove all the centerpieces from your letters. And then if this is a pretty small piece, it's not really a scrap I'm going to want to save and accommodate. But with some vinyl cutters, if that's a big enough piece, you can save that scrap to accommodate. But in this case, I'm just going to pull it off, and I'll discard the scraps here, and I'll take a pair of scissors and trim apart my designs. And I've cut a player name here, which is Frank's, for the back of the jersey. And I've also cut a team name. CADWorks software is capable of automating player names, so you can import a list. It's also capable of automating team names, so if I wanted to do Connellsville, 50 times for 50 players on the football team, I just type in Connellsville once, apply a setting of 50 times, and it'll go ahead and generate those for me. All this scrap is garbage, so I want to show you how this works. I'll grab a jersey here. I'm going to load this on the heat press and do one. Go ahead and split my jersey and load it onto my heat press. The press that I'm working with is the Hotronix Fusion heat press, which makes it really easy to accommodate all different types of items. For football jerseys, I have the standard 16 by 20 inch platen on, which is a perfect fit for doing number combos and names, etc. So I'm going to make sure it's all loaded on here. And then I'm going to go ahead and preheat the garment to remove the moisture and wrinkles. Anytime you're dealing with team fabrics, polyesters, they tend to hold a lot of moisture, so you want to make sure that you preheat the garment in order to help release some of that moisture and get a nice pressing surface where you're going to get really durable adhesion. Now I want to explain something to you a little bit more in depth. So here is the CAD-CUT name that's going to go on the back of the jersey out of Thermo Film. You can see we weeded that, and I can position it here on the garments, and everything's pre-spaced. Now you can order pre-cut letters and individually line each individual letter up without having a vinyl cutter. I think that's a little bit labor intensive, and it's a more expensive way to decorate the garments. However, I think the pre-cut numbers are a great way to decorate garments cost effectively, because you're literally having to line up only one or two numbers on the garment. Want to make sure you have the right size, right? That's one of the key things too. For football jerseys, the NFHS mandates that they be at least 10 inches high. So we've ordered these die cuts 10 inches high. You can do them 12 inch, but for some of the slimmer cut jerseys like you see here, the 12 inch tends to be a little too large and start to go over some of the seams of the shoulder, which doesn't create a nice looking or durable application. But this is really cost effective just to lay these out. And then the NFHS also says you need to have a minimum of a 1 inch gap between your name and number. It can be more. And you'll want to set, whatever your gap space is going to be for each and lay it out. You can create an alignment grid or a tool or use a T-square to help with this, but ultimately you want to have your numbers centered. Here's the tag. I have the center line running down with the tag, and then I'm also going to make sure my name is centered as well. Something important is to make sure that you cover your numbers with a cover sheet. Otherwise they'll stick to the top of the heater because they don't have this plastic layer in between. And with Thermo Film, I'm just going to press it down for 6 to 8 seconds, 330 degrees. And I'll peel the backing hot on the CAD-CUT name portion. And it's as easy as that. We've completed the back of the jersey. That's going to be very durable. One reason I chose Thermo Film, I think I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit thicker. It's about 190 microns thick. And for football in particular, it's very good because it's the thicker, tougher material is very abrasion resistant. So it's really good for a contact sport. And still, even though it's thicker, it still feels really good on the garment. It's our most popular by far for athletics. In addition to that, as I'm pressing the front, I'll tell you a little more about Thermo Film. You can see I'm going on white on a blue jersey here. It could very easily be white on a red jersey, whatever. But polyesters have the tendency to want to migrate, which basically means that the dyes in the polyester fabric want to release and come up through the lettering that you're putting on there, whether it's heat applied or screen printing. Thermo Film is thick enough that it inhibits dye migration. So it's kind of like the equivalent of a low bleed ink in screen printing. So it's a really good choice for any polyester fabric that may want to give you issues. So now the NFHS says a minimum of an 8-inch number on the front of the jersey. So I'll line those up. And align your team name. Once again, covering the number with the cover sheet. Thermo Film, 6 to 8 seconds. Peel the backing. And that's pretty fast. We have a completed jersey, front and back. Now, the rules and regulations just state that you need to simply center the number horizontally and vertically. Obviously, this part of the jersey will be tucked in, so that is a perfectly legal jersey. We used a varsity font. It's really simple to create. The die-cut numbers are very inexpensive. You can look that up on stalls.com, and you can custom cut your own names with a vinyl cutter. Now let's move on and show you something different where we'll actually step it up a notch on a football jersey. So as you can see, we have a lot of jerseys to cover today, but sticking with the football and stepping it up a notch, let me fish out one that we've pre-created here. Now we're going to do a white jersey. And the thing with the pre-cut numbers is they're good if you want to go with one of the fonts that are available. But if you want to do a custom font, or in this case I'm going to add a reflective element to the design, then that's where you're really going to leverage the vinyl cutter and cut it all yourself. So with the vinyl cutter you can kind of step up your designs. And once again, since it's football, I'm dealing with Thermo Film here. I'm just going to start weeding the design that I've cut. And although I'm doing simple numbers, since I needed the reflective outline that will weed momentarily, showing you how to do a two-color, I needed to cut them myself so it registered perfectly in the application phase that you'll see. these were just the little test cuts that I had done. Get them off of there. I'll trim these designs apart in a second. And heat transfer film CAD-CUT material comes in a variety of styles. I've talked about Thermo Film. This is 3M reflective, which is just a special effect heat transfer film. And so you just need to dial in the cutting down force and the blade extension on the vinyl cutter accordingly to start accommodating different thicknesses. It'll be important that you understand how to do that with your cutter, because I'd imagine that you're going to want to get into some of these special effects, and not only that, you're going to want to get into more than one style of film. So you're going to want, a lightweight film, something like that. And when things are pre-spaced, it's kind of nice because your numbers are all in perfect registration, so you don't have to manually line them up either. We'll load this jersey on the press. Once again, what's the first thing we need to do is preheat to remove the moisture and wrinkles. Centering the number. And then centering the name. I'm going to go ahead and tack this down just for a few seconds. I don't want to press it for too long because I don't want the bottom layer to shrink up a lot and make it tough to align the foreground. This is really neat. If you saw the Boise State uniforms, I'm not sure if they're like that as you're watching the video, but when Nike first came out with their Pro Combat style jerseys, Boise State used a lot of reflective elements in the design of the jersey, which is kind of where inspiration for this was taken from. And now I'm going to leave the name bar, the name just in reflective by itself, but I've cut a foreground in black for the number, which you can see it just positions right over top. That's because I designed these together and cut them independently of another, so they line up exactly. I don't want the reflective name bar to be exposed directly to the heat, so I'll cover that. And then I'm going to press them all together for the recommended time, temperature, and pressure. In this case, the 3M reflective that I'm using needs a little bit more on the time, so I know Thermo Film can take that, so I'm going to give it 15 seconds together before I peel. And then remove the backing, and that's on there to stay. Now, something you'll notice with this heat press and when you're doing mesh jerseys, this press is threadable, which is really nice for getting rid of some of these seams in different areas, but it's also nice when you have open holes in the jersey. Obviously, if I just laid this jersey to decorate the front like this and press that, the adhesive from the film is going to go through the mesh holes and stick the jersey together. So if you don't have a press like this, you may want to buy one, but if you don't want to buy one, you can get things like Teflon pillows like this that you can actually insert into the jersey each time before you press it to prevent the two sides from sticking together. And I'll go ahead and thread this on. Once again, the first thing I need to do is preheat on this side because I haven't done that yet. And I'll grab my combo for the front of the jersey. I've done a small 1-inch team name on this one. Instead of on the last one, I did it a little bit larger. Tack it for a few seconds. Take my Thermo Film and line it up. Once again, I'm adhering to the rules, which says a minimum of an 8-inch number on front. For football, when you're doing a 2-color, it calls out that you need to have a minimum of a 1/4 inch offset, which means the amount of the secondary number that's showing. And also your main body of the number has to be in direct contrast to the jersey. You know, I can get by with having the name being a similar color to the jersey, but the main body of your number has to be a contrast. Also for football, starting in fall of this year, 2012, the away team will be required to wear a white-bodied uniform. In basketball, it's the exact opposite. The home team is required to wear a white uniform. Once again, that's on there to stay. Imagine how that'll look in a under the Friday night lights. It's going to be a really sharp looking jersey. And let's show you how to do the shoulders. I've went ahead and cut the shoulder graphics. See what tools I have here. For the shoulders, I don't have an interchangeable platen for this press to do the shoulders, but you can get a custom platen that would be a little thinner that this could actually thread on. The 11 by 15 is a little bit too large, so I'm going to use a pillow or pad. We'll just kind of operate on the fly and see which one looks better. You can do a sleeve application or shoulder application, which a shoulder application is called like a TV number. When you bring in this, once again, the extra bulk's nice because I can kind of tuck this underneath. When you bring in this extra thickness onto the heating space, you are going to need to back off on your pressure on your heat press. It's going to raise the top platen because I need to dial in the pressure for this particular thickness. Once again, preheat. Now I have the pressure dialed in. I want to be able to see the edge of this so I can line it up. Simply position that with an understanding of where the opening of the sleeve is so the number is reading correctly. And I'm going to do it all one hit for 15 seconds since it's a simple single color graphic for the top shoulder area. Once you hit the neckline and above, there's not a whole lot of restrictions with what you can do. Although for the body of the jersey, this number would be illegal, but for the shoulder, you can do this. Which is because it's a really thin outline and it's a similar color to the jersey. So let's go ahead and do the other shoulder. And these are all additional applications that you're selling to a customer, to the high school, and basically charging a premium for every additional location. If they want TV numbers, it's a good way when you already have a client to make more profit on a job. A hat press is another good way to accommodate shoulders. So if you have a cat press, you can set up your heat press station to do the front designs and your hat press to do these additional placements. And we have a completed garment, so let's take a look and compare these two jerseys for football. Now, we've spoken a little bit about football jerseys and how to decorate those, and we've shown you that. The next sport we're going to cover is basketball. With basketball uniforms, they're typically a lighter weight fabric, and the player prefers a number or a decoration that's lighter weight that provides better mobility while on the court. Today we're going to just decorate a moisture-wicking polyester blue basketball jersey, and then we'll also cover a reversible, which are really popular. That way one jersey services both home and away games, the white portion of which is a polyester dazzle, and the other side, the blue portion, is once again the same moisture-wicking polyester. Now, since you want a lighter weight feel and a lighter weight style of design on this particular jersey, we're going to look to a CAD-CUT material that we manufacture called CAD-CUT Premium Plus. We've already pre-cut this on the roll-in cutter that we showed you the workflow for at the beginning of the video. And this stuff is highly stretchable and really lightweight. Compared to Thermo Film, it's about 100 microns thick. So about half of the thickness of Thermo Film, and it's just really we've engineered it to be very flexible and light on the garment. Since I've cut it myself, I've used a custom font here. And I've used the guide for basketball from nfhs.org. And found that I need to have a minimum of a 4-inch number on the front of the jersey and a minimum of a 6-inch number on the back. Once again, I'm required to have a 1-inch gap space from all areas of my text to my number. For instance, if you do an arched name like I've completed here for the front of the jersey, you need to measure off and make sure that at their closest points that these are at least 1 inch away, and they are. This is I've spaced this at exactly 1 inch for the back name, and then here I've spaced it at 1 inch from the lowest point of the letters to the top point of the numbers. Premium Plus is really easy to weed. Once again, with the vinyl cutting workflow, everything is nice and pre-spaced for me, which makes for easy application. So I know your time is limited with watching this, so I won't make you watch me weed everything in real time. We'll just stop to give you some helpful tips as I complete the weeding for this jersey and for the next job. So let's start really simple with just with the blue jersey, not the reversible. I'm just going to thread it on and decorate the front first. Make sure my collar's hanging off the edge so it's not impacting pressure. Make sure everything's lined up, and then I'm going to preheat. Now the CAD-CUT Premium Plus has a different application instruction than the Thermo Film, so I've adjusted my heat press accordingly. But you just want to consult with the instructions you get from Stahls and from our website for the various materials. So I'm going to position this down. Usually I like to do a few inches down from the collar, but once again the rules are you just need to center it horizontally and vertically. Press it for 8 seconds. And with this particular product, you're going to do a warm peel. Let it cool for a few seconds, and the front's complete. And one of the nice things about having the quick slip cover on the bottom of your press is you can kind of just slide the jersey and rotate it without having to unload and reload, as long as you don't get caught on the handle. To get to the back, once again, just make sure it's centered on the back, and I'll preheat. Position my back design a few inches down from the back collar. This time I'll use the cover sheet because you notice how the Mylar on the last application kind of stuck to the heater. The cover sheet will prevent that from happening. And press it for 8 seconds. Once again, give it a few seconds to cool down. I'm going to peel the backing warm. And I know you can't feel this through your computer screen, but you can trust me that Premium Plus is extremely soft and lightweight compared to some of the other materials that are out there in the marketplace. So any team's going to be happy with this. They're going to actually think this is a screen printed result. Now let's move on to the next jersey. I'll leave this sitting here. And I'll do the simple part of this jersey first as well. We'll just thread the whole thing on, the reversible on, both layers. Should lay pretty flat here for me. Make sure my thick collar's off the edge. Same theme as always, preheat. Grab my front design and position it. Once again, making sure there's at least an inch gap space between the number and every part of the design. Making sure your number on the front's a minimum of 4 inches. You can go larger if the team wants, but everything's pre-aligned for you just to line up and lock down. And warm peel the backing. Premium Plus doesn't have a really sticky backing, so it makes it really nice where you can stack designs beside each other next to the heat press when you're working. So I got these all stacked and they're really easy to pull apart. With Thermo Film, however, it's a little stickier, so you have to be a little more careful when you're moving things throughout the shop. And we sell a player backer material that could come in handy, that you can position pre-weeded designs down to a player backer. So this side of the reversible is complete, and let's turn it over to the white dazzle side. And in CAD-Works, we've created a little bit more of a complicated design, and we'll show you how to do a drop shadow application for 2-color. Even though it was preheated once, this polyester, I like to do a direct preheat on it, especially because you can see there's some wrinkles in here on this side, so it's kind of just like ironing it out. And for the back of this jersey, I'm going to do, you probably noticed in the weeding footage it was sped up, that we were working with like a foil-like material, which is actually the Fashion Film Electric. This is the color blue in the electric, and I've completed a drop shadow design for the name and the number. With this color, it's nice because it matches kind of like a school color, but you get that foil sort of sheen to it. So once again, taking from college athletics, a lot of college teams are using like metallic helmets, or they're adding metallic elements in the design, so you should show some metallic numbering options and charge more for them. We're just going to use it to accent the Premium Plus design. I'll just tack this for a few seconds to get it down. Release the backing. And then I can see through this carrier sheet to align my second color. Takes a little bit extra time in the alignment to hit the drop shadow. Position it down so it doesn't move. Cover it, and I'm going to press for the full recommended instructions for the Premium Plus. Now, since the electric takes a little longer, I'm just thinking on the fly here, I should actually press this for somewhere around 10 to 15 seconds like the electric recommends. I had it on 8 seconds, so I'm going to let it go down for a few seconds and annoy you with the beeping. Remove this backing, and once again, peel it warm. And that's a completed back of the jersey, and now let's do the same thing for the front application. This heating and reheating of the inside design that's actually underneath here that was already pressed on the blue side isn't going to hurt it. It's just melting and remelting the adhesive. It's not like I'm heating it at a much higher temperature or anything like that. So you'll be fine there. This time I will change it up to the 10 to 15 seconds for this application. So we've completed football and basketball. Now we're on to baseball, and there's a couple lessons for team uniform decorating that we could take from baseball as well, and using numbering and lettering. We're going to do a couple style jerseys. We're going to do a 2-button jersey. Once again, this is a pretty lightweight fabric, so I could utilize the Premium Plus material, but I also want to show you that's your choice. You can still use Thermo Film on lightweight fabrics. It's just going to feel a little heavier, but then you have the benefits of using the pre-cut numbers that we discussed. So we'll decorate this jersey with pre-cut numbers and Thermo Film and a cut name, and then we're also going to show you how to do a split front jersey, which is one of the most frequently asked questions, how to decorate split front jerseys. And we've set up the art once again in CADWorks Live. It has a split front effect where it automatically splits it for you, makes it very easy to cut and line up. So let's go ahead and weed the Thermo Film for our 2-button jersey first. I could have done a standard block font, and this is just, something to keep in mind when you start getting into more complicated fonts where you have to weed out the center. You're adding more to the labor in the process, so you may want to have to categorize your fonts in a couple different ways. One that's a base price point and one that's a complex price point, but that's up to you. And now for the split front, we're also going to do 2-color pre-cut numbers, which is another option. So when I lay them on the shirt, you'll see how to do it, but you can do 2-color for pre-cut numbers, and it already comes set up with the required gap space. So we'll go ahead and load the baseball jersey onto the press, split it, thread it on. Now most people, if they were decorating this jersey, and we don't have an application to do up on these areas for this design, but if you had to, you could do a couple things. One is you could load a heat printing pillow into the shirt and simply unbutton the shirt. That way the buttons sink in and you get a nice even application pressure in these areas without being impacted, and the buttons are covered so they don't melt. But with our placement, I'm just going to simply drape those off of the edge. That way they're not in the way. And let's go ahead and preheat. Position my design. Now I need to trim this a little closer because I want the numbers to kind of fit up in here within the design. Still going to use the buttons as a alignment grid, a couple inches down and centered. And then I'm grab my 4-inch die cut numbers and position them underneath. There isn't a requirement to put numbers on the front of a baseball jersey. It's simply your customer's choice, and it's good for looks. I like having a number on the front of the jersey, so there's no size requirements, anything like that for the front of a baseball jersey. But we'll talk about that on the back a little more. Cover it. Compress everything together for 8 seconds, which right now I'm on 4. Needs to be 6 to 8 seconds. And remove the backing. You can kind of see how Thermo Film nicely takes on the texture of the polyester it's being applied to. So even though it's thicker, it still takes the texture of the product and really looks nice. Spin this and get over to the back. Now for those without a threadable heat press, you would just lay the jersey on there. Once again, you're going to need a pillow because otherwise these buttons are going to want to print through to the back side of the numbering. Here they're completely out of the way, just like you're loading a screen printing press, so I don't have to worry about them. Position my name. And position my number. Make sure you set the number up correctly. We were working with number 24, not number 42. Cover everything and press. Thermo Film has one of the fastest, easiest applications for heat transfer film. And we have a completed jersey. Now we'll show you how to do the split front jersey. And so when you're doing a split front, the first thing you want to do is undo the buttons. And then I usually like to thread it on the press upside down. That way it's in the same direction as if I were buttoning it up and wearing it. And of course the left side is going to overlap the right side. And you actually want to use a heat printing pillow for this, especially once we get to the buttons on the other side. But I'm simply going to position this. Once again, I got to preheat to remove those moisture and wrinkles. And then I'll take the design and find the location. And the software perfectly splits the design. Now you do have to type in the gap space, the overlap that you have. In this case we have a 2-inch overlap. That way the word reads properly on the jersey. So I'll start with this side. I'm just going to tack this down for a couple seconds since it's a 2-color application. Remove the backing. And I'm going to line my blue color up inside of there. And then I'll use a cover sheet since there's a little bit of the white exposed there. Actually trimmed this apart a little bit incorrectly, so I'm going to go ahead and slice the part of the design. You want to make sure you trim it correctly and line it up in here. Should be no problem. Then I'll cover it up and I will press it for the full amount. Remove the backing, and now I'm ready to do the other side in the same manner. Now here's where the Teflon pillow is going to come in handy, because these buttons are actually going to sink down into the pillow when you press. And I'll make sure I use a cover sheet, that way I don't melt the buttons at all. And preheat this side. For a few seconds. Position my design. I'm actually going to fold this side up to make sure I have everything lined up properly as if it's buttoned. I can see I need to drop a little bit. Make sure I have the buttons covered. And tack that side down for a few seconds. And align my last layer inside of there. Once again, covering the buttons. And pressing for the full 6 to 8 seconds. Once again, with baseball, with high school baseball, there's no need for a number on the front of the jersey unless you choose to put it there or the team asks for it. It's not a requirement. So we'll show you a good look at that momentarily. For now, we're just going to go ahead and press the back of the jersey as well. Since I removed the pillow, I have to adjust my pressure back down. For this, I'll do a player name. And as promised, we'll utilize the pre-cut numbering in a two-color application. So I'll put the backgrounds down first. Now you can order these pre-cut numbers in team packs. You can get like number 1 through 20. You can also order them just in packs where you get 10 digits in the pack of each number, color, size, whatever, or you can order large kits. So just consult with the website to figure out the best way to order for your needs. Just going to tack this for a few seconds just to get that background number pressed on. And now it's very easy to take my foreground and make sure it lines up in there. On the Thermo Film, you'll see, the adhesive side will be pretty dull, and the right reading side that should be face up has a little bit of a semi-gloss finish to it. Cover it all, then I'll heat them all together. I'm going to make sure I do the full 8 seconds so the background gets enough time as well. It's really easy. We have 2 completed baseball jerseys to review. So after baseball, let's move to some women's softball jerseys, and we'll work with 2 different materials here. These are kind of a racerback style jersey. So one idea for that is to go with a name underneath a number. So we'll do that, and you can see we're using like a perforated material here called Airflow, and just another product that you can cut on the vinyl cutter. And the selling point to this one is it has a really cool design in the number, first off, but it kind of makes the garment a little more breathable. You may have noticed this Airflow material on the red jersey beside me here. So you can use it on cotton and polyesters, but it's pretty easy to work with. And for the front of this jersey, we've actually completed an athletic tail. Once again, with softball, it's like baseball. There's really not a lot of restrictions. On the front of the jersey, you're not required to put a number on there. So in this case, we're just going to do a tail. And CADWorks Live makes it easy to create athletic tails. There's a number of athletic tail templates there that you can just swap the text out on and pick the script font of your choice. And you can complete the welding functionality to make sure there's no cuts in between your script right within CADWorks. For softball, it's a minimum of a 6-inch number. So that's for our pink softball jersey, and for this one, we'll use a product called Super Film. Now, Super Film is kind of in the same sort of performance family as the Premium Plus material that we used earlier. The difference is Super Film has a nylon adhesive as well. So if you find yourself running into nylon garments, particularly stretch garments, Super Film can be a really good choice. In this case, I know it's kind of interchangeable with Premium Plus as far as how it looks, feels, performs. So I've chosen it for a simple color match to kind of go with this jersey. It's what I had available. It's Vegas gold color. So let's start by pressing the Airflow material. And we'll just start on the front of the jersey. Thread it on. If you get yourself into smaller, slimmer cut jerseys, it won't thread over this platen. There's an 11 by 15 inch platen that's really nice. We'll use that momentarily when we get to volleyball. So again, I'll preheat. Airflow applies for 10 to 15 seconds. So I'm sure you're getting it at this point, but the heat applied film CAD-CUT workflow is just ultra simple. All you need to do is research the rules and regulations for the sport, understand a little bit about how to dial in your cutter and the material choices available, and just make sure to follow the instructions for each particular material. I always give the analogy, the heat press is your oven, the particular CAD-CUT material is your frozen pizza. All you need to do is follow the instructions on the frozen pizza and it will tell you exactly what to set the oven for. And that's a completed garment. Let's do the super film. Now, super film is a cold peel material, which means you need to let it cool completely down before you release it. So since we're doing a single color application, it's not a problem whatsoever. I'll just lay my design out. With super film, it starts to want to curl, but if you give it a few seconds, it'll settle back in, or you can simply cover it up and press. Since it's a cold peel, I'm just going to go straight to the back of the jersey, making sure not to disrupt the front, so I'll pull it completely off and load it while that back's cooling down. Or I'm sorry, while the front's cooling down, I'll press the back. Once again, minimum of a 6-inch number. Thermal tape is also available, so if you're working in an environment where maybe there's an air condition blowing or something, you don't want that design to blow around, you can buy thermal tape and tape it into place so it's not going to move. And we'll let the back cool down. If I'm doing a whole run of jerseys, I can throw them all to the side. Since I'm doing one, we'll just let this cool down. And then the back should be cooled down by now. And I can release that as well. And so the next sport we're going to prepare designs for is volleyball, and if you're familiar with volleyball at all in high schools, you know that they're wearing a lot of high stretch garments. And so for that, we're going to lean on the Premium Plus material. And let's weed that out. For the front number, it has to be a 4-inch minimum. For the back number, it needs to be a 6-inch minimum. It does require both a back and front number. volleyball, your placement of your number can actually be centered, or it can be top right chest or top left chest. And then we'll also do a two-color application on the white jersey. Once again with Premium Plus. I think Premium Plus is just a good all-purpose, lightweight, stretch fabric material. If I had to settle on two materials to stock, I would stock Premium Plus for the lightweight fabrics, and I would stock Thermo Film for anything you want to leverage the pre-cut numbers for, and anything that requires dye blocking, abrasion resistance. It's amazing with Premium Plus, even on applying two-color numbers, it maintains its stretchability. So let's press these on. Now for these slimmer fitting volleyball jerseys, ideally you'd like to thread them on, but you don't want them to be stretched and warped, so that's where the Hotronix Fusion and the quick change bottom platen is going to come into play. I'll slide out the 16 by 20 platen and I'll load my 11 by 15 inch. Lock it back into place, and now you can thread this right on. Preheat. And I'll position my design. And Premium Plus, 8 seconds. This is something I want to show you. This stuff is highly stretchable, so it's going to be a really nice look and feel for these volleyball uniforms. Let's do a two-color. And the way I've laid this one out, I'm going to need to do some pre-alignment here with both pieces to make sure it's going to lay out correctly where I want it. It's good because I want the name a few inches down, but the name's going to be the second piece I apply. Just going to tack the bottom layer for, once again, a few seconds. Give it a few seconds to cool down. And release the liner. Trying to keep it from stretching as much as possible since it's a high stretch garment. The less it stretches, the easier to line up the second layer is going to be. Cover it, and then I'll press them both together for about 10 to 12 seconds just to make sure the bottom layer is getting the full application and melting point of the adhesive. A few seconds to cool down. And I'll release it. If it starts to lift at all when you're trying to release it, that means you're trying to peel it while it's too hot, especially for two color stuff, so I'm going to let it cool down even more before I release it here. Much better release just by giving it a few more seconds. And since I started to lift the edge, if you ever get edge lifting, don't panic, just stop and let it cool down a little more, and then you're just going to re-press it for the time the material takes, so in this case 8 seconds, to make sure I remelt and rebond that adhesive. And now let's do the back. I'm doing these jerseys in a one-off environment, but if I were running a whole team of these, I would know every time that that background needs to be 4 inches or 6 inches off, whatever it needs to be. Again, try to keep the background from stretching as much as possible. And volleyball requires an outline of no more than 1/2 inch, so they don't want you getting too crazy with your offset outline. You can even let it cool down on press or move on to the next garment and throw it to the side and come back and peel it in a few seconds. It's up to you. You can also peel it when it's completely cooled down if you like. And the 2-color number stretches and rebounds well as well. Now we have a couple additional things to show you, but our last sport that we want to cover before we get into that is soccer. And for soccer, it's a 4-inch front number minimum requirement and a 6-inch back number. I'm completing this combination out of a material called CAD-CUT flock, and it's basically a real fuzzy textured material. We'll try to capture it as best we can with a camera after we apply these, so you can see how the material has a nice texture to it, but it's almost like a fabric sort of material, and it's really popular for indoor sports and also for soccer. I'm using the Stahl's Tiffany font, which is in CADWorks Live. It's a unique font. And the other material we'll use is Fashion Film Electric. And we'll just give you a concept of doing a home and away jersey for the same team. I should say, although you're allowed to use a light color home jersey right now, eventually, sooner than later, it will be required to be white. Now to press the soccer jersey, since the designs are a little bigger, I'm going to go back to my 16 by 20 inch plat. Flock works just like the other materials. You just press it for the recommended time, temperature, and pressure, and you peel it after it's cooled down. But you deliver the customer a higher perceived value for relatively the same cost of the standard films. So we'll let that cool down while we work on the back. And we'll let this one cool down as well. Now I'm just going to simulate a production environment. We would just throw this to the side and we would keep rolling with our next jersey until we complete the team. And if you have one heat press, you can really multitask in that I'll preheat this. I'll go ahead and position my design down with the cover sheet. Lock this one down, and while this one's locked down, I'll go ahead and remove the backing. From this one. This is a hot peel. The Fashion Film Electric Yellow is a hot peel, so I'll just rotate this jersey. And you can really, with one operator, obtain a lot of efficiency in production once you get experienced and make sure you know how to line everything up and press it without making a mistake as you're picking up speed. Now let's review the finished garments. Now we've been through the team uniforms for the core sports that we're going to cover today, but with that you should also recognize that there's other opportunities within decorating for high school athletics. And we're going to cover just a few items. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities with different items, but we don't have time to cover absolutely everything. So we're going to cover a few of the kind of the easy pickings items, such as compression wear. So much like the volleyball garment that was high stretch, most sports and most athletes want to buy Under Armour-like compression fabrics to wear as a base layer. So there's opportunity to sell those and to decorate those. Wholesale suppliers offer those. So we'll decorate that. Something else we're going to do is a warm-up jacket. So whether it's for wearing to school on game day with a sweatshirt or something like that, or a warm-up that the basketball team's running onto the court and getting ready for the game in, or a jacket, you can do that, and there's no restrictions because it's not for game use. Officials don't have to read the number off of the warm-up gear. So we're going to show you how to leverage some unique special effects on those that kids will like. And then lastly, fan apparel, because mom and dad and sister and brother are in the stands, and there's other fans from the school. So if you can get into some on-site decoration or maybe put up a fundraising program through the high school, you can decorate fan wear. And we'll show you one of our most popular special effect materials in Glitter Flake in decorating a fan jersey. A lot of the wholesale suppliers, such as Teamwork Athletics, sell fan versions of the jerseys now, so it's a really lucrative market. So I'll prepare all those through weeding, and then we'll talk more at the heat press. So now we've prepared all the designs. We'll start by applying the fan jersey with the glitter flake material. For placement, I'm going to trim these apart. There's no way a fan's going to be missed in the stand supporting their team with this jersey on. I'm going to press the front. Back should be cooled down by now. We have a completed garment. And let's see if our compression fabric fits over this platen. No, so I'm going to start with the warm-up then, because I think it'll be the right size. And this is high dollar, high margin stuff here. There's really no regulations at all as far as what you can do here, as mentioned before. That's why I'm using the Fashion Film Electric Metal along with the Fashion Film Electric Blue for a tone-on-tone look, which is really popular right now. If you go to like the NBA store, you'll see they're even selling jerseys, black on black, white on white. That'll look real sharp, and then let's go around and let's get the front left chest placement. Have a zipper here to fight through that I don't want to impact pressure, so I'm going to take a little print perfect pad and actually raise the print area. Make sure I lighten my pressure. On the heat press, preheat. Position your design. Cover and apply. And remove it when complete. And let's go to our last item, which is our compression fabric, before we wrap it all up. And for that I'm going to load the smaller 11 by 15 platen on again. Just do a front application. If it's a polyester-based compression, use Premium Plus. If it's a nylon-based compression, use Super Film. see I'm mimicking a popular layout for athletics where you put the position over top of the number, either split with a line or some other type of design. Let it cool for a few seconds. Stretches right with it. I have a well-coordinated outfit to sell into a team of package. So after you get a chance to review all those samples and learn about all the different ways to decorate athletic uniforms for high schools, I hope at the end of the day you realize that there's a lot of opportunity in the decorated apparel business for this market. All you need is a heat press and a vinyl cutter and you're in business. And of course a relationship with Stahls, so we can provide you with all the heat applied films that we manufacture as well as the pre-cut numbers. So literally with an investment of roughly $1,800 for the cutter and $1,800 for a heat press and some material inventory, you're in business for $4,000 and you're making all of this type of items, from warm-ups with unique effects on it, left chest logos including fine detail, fanware with high glitter materials that are really hot sellers in retail as well that fans are going to love. Stretch fabrics such as compression wear, all these technical textiles that are growing in popularity. You can do them in light and dark colors. You can do unique effects that are allowed for high school athletics that match the sheen of the fabric for soccer. You can do soft materials like flock that have a nice soft texture for something different. If you want to decorate for volleyball, once again, stretch materials. You can combine multiple spot colors in stretch materials, do names, numbers, etc. You can do color matches with part of the jersey with the wide selection of colors that we have. You can sell the jerseys as having increased breathability with a material like airflow that you see here doing a racerback softball jerseys where you drop the name underneath the number. You can do 2-button baseball jerseys when combined with die-cut number, the fastest, most cost-effective way to number uniforms. You can do 2-cut die cuts and split front jerseys very easily with the CAD-Works Live software. We empower you to do that. As a Stahls customer, you have access to CAD-Works Live for free. You can do lightweight reversibles that feel good on basketball players as they're wearing them on the court. So we've done the white side there as you saw, and we did the blue side as well with a matching design. You can cut unique fonts all pre-spaced. Very fast, very easy. Reflective elements on football jerseys, or just basic football jerseys that look clean and sellable. So all of this is possible. All you need to do now is go to Stahls.com, learn about all the different heat transfer materials we have available, and make sure you get a heat press. Thanks for watching today. Once again, I'm Josh Ellsworth with Stahls CAD-CUT Direct, and this has been a great Garment Graphics video on demand presentation.